Friends, we're about to begin the service for Mrs. Kaplan. I'd ask you to bring final regards and to please find seats. At this time, we are going to begin the service for Mrs. Janice Pamela Kaplan. I would ask any of you who have a cellular device to please turn it to the off position. Officiating our service today will be Rabbi Aaron Melman from Congregation Beth Shalom.
Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, bino deshe yarbitzeni, al me menuchot yinahaleni, nafshi yashovev, yanecheni b'maglei tzedek, l'mahan shemo, gam ki elech b'geit salmavet, Lo yirara ki ata imadi, shivtecha umishontecha, hema yanachamuni, taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorerai, tishanta vashem en roshi, ko sirevaya, ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni, Kol yemei chayai, veshavti beveit Adonai, leorech yamim. The words of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Kirachem av al banim richam Adonai al yireav, ki hu yada yitzrenu zachur ki afar anachnu. Enosh kichetzir yamav kitzitza sadeh ken yatzitz, ki roach avra bo ve'enenu ve'lo yakirenu od mekomo, ve'chesed Adonai me'olam ve'ad olam al yireav, ve'tzitkato livnei vanim. A selection of the 103rd Psalm. As a parent has compassion for their children, God has compassion for those who show reverence. God knows how we are fashioned. God remembers that we are dust. The days of mortals are like grass. We flourish as the flowers of the field. A wind passes over them and they are no more, and no one can recognize where they grew. But God's compassion is everlasting. God's kindness to children's children, to all the reverent ones, endures age after age, unchanging. Psalm 34 teaches us that God is close to the brokenhearted, helps those crushed in spirit. Tell us, God, what our term is. Tell us the measure of our days. Were we to know, we would know then certainly how fleeting life is, how quickly we gray. You have made our life just handbreadths long. Its span is as nothing in your sight. No one endures any longer than a breath. We walk about as a mere shadow, mere futility, as our hustle and bustle, amassing treasure and not knowing who will gather in. What then can we depend on, God? We shall depend on you. In you lies our hope. There are some questions to which there are no answers. And try as we might to figure out why Janice contracted an infection which ultimately led to her death, would it really matter if we knew the answer? What matters is that we focus on how she lived and how she showed her love. As Janice loved the holidays in Jewish tradition, it seems only fitting to mention that we're just a few weeks away from Passover. Ultimately, that will lead us forward 7 weeks to Shavuot, which the rabbis in the Mishnah refer to as Atzeret. The fact that we recite Yizkor, memorial prayers on these holidays, reminds us that all whom we love are mortal, and that the time must come when we have to take leave of them as well. The word Atzeret, usually interpreted as final, also means retain. And it is taught that this, the closing day of the spring festival season, was the time when we sought to retain some of the religious fervor and the heightened spirit of the holiday. It is human nature to hold on as long as we can to that which is precious to us. However, even when we must take leave of one another, we can still retain that which is significant. For God has given us the power to remember. Memory is a faculty which enables us to make the past a present reality and to keep alive the challenges surmounted, the joys experienced, the sorrows faced throughout the years that we were privileged to share with our beloved. Today we come to remember Janice Kaplan. Today we confront the realization that there is much in life as well as in death that is not under our control. There's an aspect of life that the biblical book of Ecclesiastes speaks about. Life is exquisite and overwhelming in its complexity, often defying comprehension. That's why I think the book of Ecclesiastes is written the way it is. Life's never all one thing, all joy or all sadness. It's laughing and crying, dancing and mourning, and seeking and losing, sometimes never even finding. There are different times in life. There are good and bad, easy and hard. Ecclesiastes is right when he says there's a time for silence and a time for talking. Now is the time for talking, not just for the public speaking we do today, but also for sorting through all the things that you need to come to terms with your loss, to find life's most precious and sometimes elusive quality, peace of mind. You deserve it, and I pray that you find it as you look at all of Janice's life. She was described to me by her children as a survivor, a strong woman who had survived different illnesses throughout her life, a beautiful lady who had been through a lot, made it through those challenging times because she was strong-minded. She was born to 2 deaf parents and in so many ways became their ears and their eyes. I was told that she did everything for them, and ultimately her parents moved in with Janice and Ronald. She grew up with very little, which her children suspect is why she kept all the mementos from over the years. I know, that's a nice way to say it. Even the stuff that just sat in the basement, they had sentimental value to her. She was very sentimental. No doubt her modest upbringing also led to her to always do for and give to others. It was never for herself. She was generous to a fault. She loved giving gifts, whether it was something from Peppa Pig, yes, I know what that is, or clothes that in her mind her kids would love, she bought it. In truth, her kids probably hated it. The pandemic took its toll on a woman who loved to be social. It affected her emotionally as it became very isolating. She was so devoted to her children, Stephanie and Ross, Natalie and Abe, and Michael. She was the social party planner for bar and bat mitzvahs, weddings, brisses, and always wanted the best for those special occasions. You all had a unique relationship with her. Michael, you lived with her for a while after college. And Natalie, for the last 5 years, she has lived with you and your family. Stephanie, you said that she had her own way, but you knew how much she loved you all. And she worked hard to make sure that you all had a different dinner based on your tastes. It was fish for her, chicken for the girls, and meat for the boys. You talked about your mom's love of Jewish tradition and kept it up as best she could, always wanting to do what was right and what was proper. She would go to 10 different stores so that she could always get the best gefilte fish at this store and the best whatever it was at that store. She would bring home the entire store, especially for you around the holidays. And as you shared with me yesterday, you will carry on her traditions. She had a great support system in you and in her friends that were like family. You shared so many wonderful things about your mom yesterday when we met that I just hope and pray that you'll always hold on to those sweet memories. Janice was Grammy to Aidan, Makenzie, Levi, and Xander. Makenzie wrote something in the car on the way here from Denver and texted it to Stephanie, who shared it with me. Here's what Makenzie wrote. Cares for others. Always looks on the bright side. Tries her best. Has persistence always. Has the best heart. Makes me a better person. Helps me with my struggles. Shops with me. Very courageous, always trustworthy. Does what she says she is going to do. Very ambitious. Has success and achieves her goals. So compassionate. Shows sympathy for others. Thinks of others before herself. Very charismatic. Inspires me. Motivated. Helps pursue others' goals. I feel like I could stop there. She loved watching the cooking channel and game shows with you, especially Wheel of Fortune, where you would try to solve the puzzles. And she loved working on homework with her grandchildren. No surprise. Ronald, you had 3 incredible children with Janice, and we are so sorry for your loss. I know this has been an especially difficult week for you. Today we want to pause to remember Janice's brother and sister-in-law, Sherwin and Rhea of blessed memory. We remember her sister-in-law, Bonnie of blessed memory, and Bernie, and we extend our condolences to her brother-in-law and sister-in-law, Jeffrey and Sheila. At this point, I'd like to pause to invite up Aidan to share some words.
I just wanted to say a few things about my grandma. She always put herself forward. She always helped us and other people before her. What my sister wrote was very well said. And her favorite holiday was Valentine's Day. So I always think when I see like a heart or something that resembles Valentine's Day, I think of her. Trying to think. On behalf of my cousins and my family, we were very close with her, and she loved her family, she loved her friends, and I bet if that now she's looking down on us, and I bet that she is now well and better than she was a few days ago.
As we've mentioned, in addition to members of her immediate family, Janice was also a dear friend. As I mentioned a moment ago, she was very social, and I was told she was the life of the party and always loved to dance. She was outgoing and simply loved to be with people. Every Friday night was spent with, as I was told, the Golden Girls, going to whatever restaurant had the best will, you name it. She was a foodie and loved trying new restaurants, even if it meant driving a bit. And the sad irony is that she couldn't eat towards the end. She was unable to taste anything. And yet, even though she could not respond, her children told her that soon enough, there would be all of her favorite foods. I mentioned her children, but Janice had other children that she was incredibly devoted to. Those children were all of her students. Being a teacher was integral to her life, and it gave her life. She taught in the city and then in Waukegan. She would even spend her salary to make sure that her students were taken care of and that they felt safe. Here is what one former colleague wrote on Facebook. A big shout out to my dear friend and inspirational teacher, Janice Kaplan. I was wearing my Cook Magnet School sweatshirt and was approached by a young woman who said that she was a student there many years ago. She went on to say that her most favorite teacher she ever had was Mrs. Kaplan. She and her family were going through a very difficult time in their lives, and Mrs. Kaplan, with her kindness and compassion, was there for her and her family every step of the way. The young woman is now a nurse, and she said that she will be forever grateful to her second grade teacher. No doubt there are so many more thoughts and feelings like that from her former students and colleagues. Her students loved meeting her children and her grandchildren. What a blessing. Only too often, we find it difficult to emotionally grasp the truth of what Ecclesiastes tells us. When Ecclesiastes writes, "Et laledet ve'et lamut," that there is a time to be born and a time to die. Intellectually, we know that Ecclesiastes is right. Emotionally, however, we find it difficult to accept the loss of a family member who was loved, who was so dear to so many. A dear friend. We know that there will be a void in your lives, an emptiness that will remain throughout your lifetimes. And while we cannot stay the hands of time that ultimately brings the death of a loved one, we can affirm that the passing of an individual does not mean her end. The memories of what Janice meant to family and friends will continue to live on in your minds and in your hearts. No words can lessen the pain that you feel today or could fully express how much Janice is missed and always will be. But try with all your soul, strength, and might to focus on all that she did and all that she gave. Though incomplete in years, her life was complete in so many other ways. Hold on to these thoughts, and most of all, hold on to each other in the difficult days to come. Some people come into our lives and quickly go. Some people move our souls to dance. They awaken us to new understanding with the passing of their wisdom. Some people make the sky more beautiful to gaze upon. They stay in our lives for a while. They leave footprints on our hearts, and we are never, never the same. May the memory of Janice Kaplan be forever a blessing to all who knew and loved her. Amen. If you're able, we'll ask you to rise at this time for the traditional memorial prayer. El malei rachamim, shochein bamromim, hametzeh menucha nechona, tachat kanfei hashchina, b'ma'alot kedoshim utorim, kezohar harakia mazhirim, את נשמת יהודית בת חסקל שלחה לעולמה, בגן עדן תהא מנוחתה. ענה בעל הרחמים, הסתיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Janice Kaplan, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. May she rest in peace. Amen. You may be seated.
Friends, this concludes the service here in our chapel. The interment will take place immediately at Waldheim Jewish Cemetery in Forest Park. Following the interment, the family will be sitting Shiva. The times are located and the location is on your folder. And for those of you who are on the live stream, it's on our website right in front of you. Thursday today from 4:30 until 9 p.m., Friday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., and from Sunday to 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. The family has requested that memorial contributions be made to the Rheumatology Research Foundation. That address and the web address are located both on the folders, and if you're online, you can see it where you're at. For those of you who are going to be going in procession with the family to the cemetery, please make sure you obtain an orange funeral safety sticker. That sticker should be placed in the front passenger side of your windshield. We would also ask that you have your bright headlights and flashing hazards lights on at all times. For an additional measure of safety, our staff will be placing magnetic flags on the tops of the vehicles throughout the procession. As we drive in procession today, please drive as closely as safety permits to the vehicle in front of you. We want to avoid any gaps, especially as we go through the intersections. For those of you who tend to use your cellular phone, would request respectfully to try to limit utilization. The following individuals have been selected to serve as pallbearers: Aidan Block, Ross Block, Bernard Citron, Danny Karlbach, Norman Ray Metchik, Abraham Michelson, Sam Middleman. Honorary pallbearers: Bernie Lesitza, Ralph Metchik, Levi Michelson, and Alexander Michelson. At this time, I would ask everyone to please rise as Mrs. Kaplan, the family, and the rabbi are escorted from the chapel.